Try it. I have worked now in aviation for 6, almost 7 years. And if it's for you, you will know within the first few flights. Do that flight, go with the Young Eagles, get in an organization especially that'll support you like that, and just try it, and you'll know.
From a hangar somewhere near the flight line, this is the Future in Flight podcast. I'm Sean Starker. Today on the program, what happens when a reluctant teenager gets dragged to what she thinks is just another car show? For Claire, Maher becomes the first chapter in an extraordinary aviation journey, from that first Young Eagles flight to launching her own aviation business and providing an opportunity for the next generation of pilots. Then, we'll plug into the future of aviation as we explore the rapidly evolving world of electric aircraft. Who's leading the charge? Where will these aircraft plug in? And is our infrastructure ready for this electrifying revolution in flight? Plus, we'll head to the Hangar Theater for our first Future in Flight at the Movies, featuring a documentary about a pilot that more aviators want to fly with than any other in history. That's all ahead on the Future in Flight podcast. Behind every aircraft in the sky, there's a story of how someone fell in love with aviation. For Claire Maher, that story begins with a reluctant teenager being dragged to what she thought was just another car show.
My first flight was when I was 14, and my dad dragged me kicking and screaming to a car show on a Saturday that happened to be put on by our local Experimental Aircraft Association at an airport. And I didn't want to look at cars, so I was like, sure. So I had my brother and sister in the back seat, and I went up with the pilot. We went up, we flew over my house, which is near the airport, and over my hometown. And I got to fly an airplane that day, and I decided right there that that is what I wanted to do every day.
That single flight with the Young Eagles program changed everything. But Claire wasn't content to just dream. She was ready to act. By 16, she had already completed her first solo flight, though the timing couldn't have been more challenging.
I first soloed at my home airport of Mariposa, Yosemite. I was 16, and I would say the biggest challenge, which is kind of funny, was that it was COVID. And because I was 16, I did not have a government-issued ID. And the DMV was closed, and the passports were backed up. And so the only delay to me soloing was getting my driver's license.
Growing up in a small town in Northern California presented its own unique challenges for flight training.
Thanks to a wonderful, wonderful group at Airborne Aviation there, the airport manager, Tony Borison, he let me work there to help me get through my flights. It was accessible because of their efforts and their passion. But other than that, it wouldn't have been accessible to me. The next closest flight school was about an hour away.
At 18, Claire made a decision that would shock everyone, including herself. With weather constantly interrupting her training in California, she decided to drive across the country to Florida, giving herself just 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah, I was 18 when I moved, and although I soloed at 16, I had moved out of my parents' house pretty early, so I had all your regular bills and challenges, and not a lot of earning potential in my hometown, not a lot of jobs. So at 18, I had attempted to get my cross-country solos done, and weather had just made it super, super challenging. One day I got fed up enough that I put in 2 weeks at my work and had my roommates take over our lease, and 2 weeks later I drove to Florida. The only thought process behind it was, well, Florida has good weather all the time, right? Shockingly, it does not. There are hurricanes here, just as there are fires there. But overall, the weather is much better.
But better weather didn't solve everything. Claire found herself working 3 jobs just to afford flight training. That's when entrepreneurship came calling.
I was in flight school, but I was moving along really slow. I had 3 jobs. I would work for a month and it would be enough after my bills for like 3 flights. And I knew I was just crawling along and I was never going to get anything done at that pace.
A conversation with a mentor about aircraft detailing sparked an idea. Within days, Claire had taken out a loan and filed for an LLC launching Fly Girl Aircraft Detailing.
We do things a little bit differently, and I'd say there's 2 big things that set us apart. One is that I am a pilot. I see a lot of people try to enter the market that are car detailers, not to say that they maybe couldn't do a wonderful job, but there are a lot of things about airplanes that are different than cars.
But what truly sets her business apart is its mission to help other student pilots.
We employ flight students. We have people come in who are also trying to raise money for their flight training, and they can come and work and get to see the airplane. They'll probably learn a little bit more about it. They're getting to meet people in the industry, and it's really a win-win for everyone.
Today, Claire isn't just running her detailing business. She's also the Director of Administration at FlyBright Pilot Academy, where she helps shape the next generation of aviators. Her journey from reluctant teenager to aviation entrepreneur offers valuable lessons for anyone dreaming of a career in aviation.
Sometimes it can be discouraging. One thing for me in my aviation journey is we've been at this 6 years now, and I'm now getting my instrument rating. Especially working at an accelerated flight school, you see people fly by. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned is you can't get discouraged by the current failures and have that make you quit. It's better to be 1% better than not working at it at all.
And her advice for young people interested in aviation?
Get involved in as many groups as you can and meet as many people as you can. There are so many groups out there that are there to help you along, that offer scholarships, that offer advice. Get involved in as many of them as you can. Walk into an FBO and introduce yourself to everyone that walks in. If you want to work in aviation business, just message the person whose job you want and ask them for an interview. The worst they can do is say no.
Claire's story reminds us that success in aviation isn't just about flying. It's about persistence, creativity, and giving back to the community that helped you achieve your dreams.
I don't want to do anything but aviation, even if it's not flying. Aviation, business, even an air traffic controller. It's safe to say I am thoroughly hooked.
Coming up next on the Future in Flight podcast, electric airplanes are taking to the skies, but where do they charge? And is the infrastructure keeping up? We'll dive into the innovations, challenges, and what the future holds for powering flight with electricity. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it. Are you looking to take your brand to new heights? At Creative Relay Media, we create content that connects and converts. We're a full-service digital agency offering everything from expert voiceovers and custom podcasts to eye-catching videos, engaging copywriting, and standout branding. We don't just tell your story, we make it unforgettable. Whether it's social media, website creation, or full-scale marketing strategies, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, we'll take it from here. Visit CreativeRelayMedia.com today and let's work together to elevate your brand. Welcome back to the Future in Flight podcast, where we explore the cutting edge of aviation technology. Today, we're diving into something that's literally electrifying the aviation world: electric aircraft. Now, I know what you're thinking. Electric planes? Really? Yes, really. And while this technology is still evolving, companies like Joby Aviation, Archer, and Beta Technologies are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the skies. Let's talk about some of the major players in this space. Joby Aviation is leading the pack with strong financial backing. They've got over $700 million in the bank and even have Toyota supporting them. That's huge. Then there's Archer Aviation, which has caught United Airlines' attention with their Midnight aircraft. It's designed specifically for urban environments, and get this, it's super quiet compared to traditional aircraft. Another company aiming to make electric autonomous flight a reality is Wisk Aero, a wholly owned subsidiary of Boeing. But here's something important to note. Creating electric aircraft isn't easy. Just recently, we saw two well-known companies, Lilium and Velociraptor, face some serious financial challenges. This shows us something really important. Innovation takes time, persistence, and lots of money. It's kind of like the early days of cars or smartphones. Not every company makes it, but the technology keeps moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's talk about charging these electric birds. Beta Technologies is becoming the Tesla superchargers of the sky. In 2024, they expanded their charging network to 46 sites across 22 states. Their charging stations, called Charge Cubes, can power up an aircraft in under an hour. And here's the cool part. They're not just for one type of aircraft. Unlike the mess we see with different phone chargers, the aviation industry is getting smart and standardizing their charging systems. Now, there are some challenges we need to talk about. First up, infrastructure. Just like electric cars needed charging stations everywhere before they could really take off, electric aircraft need the same kind of network. Airports are having to completely rethink their setup to handle these new electric birds. And then there's the range issue. Current battery technology means these aircraft can't fly as far as traditional planes. But here's the thing, they're perfect for short trips like city-to-city hops or getting across town in busy cities. Think about skipping that 2-hour traffic jam with a 15-minute electric flight. The really exciting part? NASA is in on all this. They've got this amazing facility called NEAT, the NASA Electric Aircraft Testbed, where they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with electric aviation. They're testing everything from small aircraft to systems that could eventually power planes carrying up to 180 passengers. So what does this all mean for you, our future flyers? Well, we're in the middle of a revolution in aviation. Yes, there are challenges, and yes, some companies might not make it, but that's how innovation works. The Wright brothers didn't get it right on their first try either. What matters is the technology keeps advancing, and the companies that succeed will help create a cleaner, quieter future for aviation. Before we wrap up, here's something to think about. While some companies are facing challenges, others are getting stronger. Major airlines and aerospace companies are still betting big on electric aviation. They see what we see. This isn't just about flying taxis. It's about reimagining how we travel. That's all for this electrifying segment. Remember, the future of flight isn't just about where we can go. It's about how we can get there, and sometimes the path to innovation has some turbulence along the way. Keep your eyes on the skies, future flyers, and stay tuned for more amazing developments in aviation technology. Welcome back to our newest segment, the Future in Flight podcast at the movies, where we check out some great films that might be perfect for your next hangar cinema night. This Future in Flight at the Movies segment is brought to you by Aviation's Tram Talk at Sun and Fun 2025. Heading to the show? Hop on the Aviation Tram and share your aviation story. Just look for the custom branded tram and climb aboard April 1st through the 6th at Sun and Fun 2025. Throughout my years doing interviews, I've asked countless pilots, engineers, and aviation enthusiasts the question, if you could fly with any pilot throughout history, who would you choose? Time and time again, one name keeps coming up, Bob Hoover. In fact, more than 1 in 4 people I've asked have chosen him without hesitation. The reason becomes crystal clear when you watch Flying the Feathered Edge, the Bob Hoover Project, a masterful documentary from director Kim First that chronicles the life of a man many consider to be the greatest pilot who ever lived. If you've ever wondered what it means when pilots talk about the pilot's pilot, this film answers that question definitively through the remarkable life story of R.A. Bob Hoover. Released in 2014, this documentary takes us on an unforgettable journey through aviation history as seen through the eyes of a man who didn't just witness it, he helped shape it. The film opens with something really special. Harrison Ford and Sean D. Tucker, two legendary aviators in their own right, helping to frame the story of a man who changed aviation forever. But what makes this documentary truly exceptional is hearing from Bob Hoover himself, sharing his experiences in his own words with a humility that's almost hard to believe given his incredible achievements. Let's listen to a key moment from the film where Hoover describes his philosophy about test flying.
And there's something about risk-taking that you don't think anything's going to ever happen to you. It just only happens to other people. You like to think that I'm smarter than the airplane is, and I'll know how to handle whatever situation comes my way. That isn't always the case. If you have a malfunction at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're dead.
That right there captures something essential about Bob Hoover, his remarkable ability to push the boundaries while maintaining a deep respect for the physics and limitation of flight. The documentary takes us through his extraordinary journey from teaching himself aerobatics as a teenager to becoming a World War II fighter pilot, test pilot, and eventually the most celebrated airshow performer in history. One of the most compelling segments covers Hoover's World War II experience, including his time as a POW and his daring escape. After multiple attempts, he managed to escape his German captors, and in an almost unbelievable turn of events, he stole a Focke-Wulf 190 and flew to safety. The film handles this part of his story masterfully, letting Hoover tell it in his characteristically modest way while helping viewers understand just how extraordinary this feat really was. What really sets this documentary apart is how it goes beyond just chronicling Hoover's achievements. It shows us how he influenced generations of pilots through his work as a test pilot at North American Aviation, where he helped develop aircraft that would become legends in their own right, the F-86 Sabre and the F-100 Super Sabre. Here's another powerful moment from the film.
Well, Bob was at North American for a long time, and the history of North American's airplanes was they built this P-51 fighter, which was essentially the best fighter of the war. They built the F-86, which was the best fighter of that Korean vintage time, and then they built this F-100. So his contributions to that were really material, and the fact that the ejection seat worked is demonstrated by me sitting in this chair talking to you.
Something crucial about Hoover's legacy. He wasn't just pushing the envelope for the thrill of it. Everything he did was about advancing aviation safety and helping other pilots understand what their aircraft could and couldn't do. The film does an excellent job of showing how his famous airshow demonstrations, particularly his energy management routines with engines shut down, were actually masterclasses in aircraft control and safety. Speaking of those demonstrations, the documentary includes some absolutely breathtaking footage of Hoover performing his signature routines. Whether he's flying his beloved P-51 Mustang or the Shrike Commander, a business aircraft he turned into an airshow sensation, the precision and grace of his flying has to be seen to be believed. Let's hear one more clip that I think really captures the essence of who Bob Hoover was.
I enjoyed every minute of my flying days, but I had adjusted my thinking that one day no one will be able to tell me when I should quit flying. I will be able to tell myself. And it started with my knee problems with the Mustang after being grounded 3 years. The last show that I participated in was at Luke Air Force Base over near Phoenix, Arizona. I made my decision that day. I didn't like what I had done. Nobody on the ground knew it. But I knew that I very nearly lost the airplane. And I had never been close to that feathered edge as I was that day. And I was able to hold it. But boy, it was a rude awakening, because I thought, you've been telling yourself all these years, you will know when to quit.
What makes Flying the Feathered Edge so special is that it's not just a biography. It's a masterclass in aviation history, test flying, and the principles of flight, all wrapped up in the story of one of the most remarkable aviators who ever lived. Director Kim First has created something truly special here, weaving together historical footage, contemporary interviews, and Hoover's own personal archives into a compelling narrative that will captivate anyone interested in aviation, regardless of their age or experience level. For our listeners who might be dreaming about careers in aviation, this film offers something invaluable, a chance to learn from one of the greatest pilots who ever lived, someone who showed us that with dedication, skill, and respect for the fundamentals of flight, almost anything is possible. Flying the Feathered Edge won multiple awards, including the Grand Prize Soldiers in Sacrifice Award at the Rhode Island International Film Festival, and it's easy to see why. It's more than just a documentary. It's a testament to the spirit of aviation and the people who push its boundaries while never forgetting the responsibility that comes with flight. You know, in putting together this review, I kept coming back to something Bob Hoover said about aviation being a field where dreams come true. This film shows us exactly what he meant by that, while reminding us that those dreams are built on dedication, skill, and an unwavering respect for the principles of flight. The film is available for purchase or rent through various streaming platforms, and I strongly encourage anyone with an interest in aviation to watch it. It's the kind of film that can spark important discussions about where we've been in aviation and where we're headed. One final thought. Throughout his career, Bob Hoover demonstrated that the real mark of a great aviator isn't just skill in the cockpit. It's the willingness to share knowledge and help others grow. That's a legacy worth carrying forward, no matter where your aviation journey takes you. This has been the Future in Flight podcast at the movies. Here's hoping your next hangar movie night is 2 thumbs up. And that brings us in for landing on another episode of the Future in Flight podcast. From Claire Maher's inspiring journey as reluctant teenager to aviation entrepreneur, to our deep dive into the electrifying world of next-generation aircraft, and our review of Flying the Feathered Edge, the Bob Hoover project, we've covered some serious sky today. Before we taxi back, I want to remind you that this show is part of the Aviation family, where we're dedicated to inspiring and supporting the next generation of aviation professionals. Head over to Aviation's website for the latest updates and some exciting announcements. Their Rising Star program is currently full throttle ahead, featuring some of the country's most promising aviators in schools. And you won't want to miss their signature Tram Talk interviews straight from Sun and Fun. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. Your reviews and ratings help other aviation enthusiasts find our show and join our community. Each review is like a tailwind, pushing us further towards that goal. From all of us here at the Future in Flight podcast, remember that every great aviation story starts with that first spark of curiosity, and you never know where it might lead. I'm Sean Starker, and we'll see you out there and up there.